everyone. Welcome to New Answers Podcast. I'm Gwendolyn Flynn,
And I'm
still.
Tiffany Lee.
Yes, hi, Tiffany. And Tiffany, of course, and I have been talking about nurturing spirituality. Today, our conversation is going to be on the Great Divide. And um, when you hear that term, I think at one point you probably thought about it being the Great Divide around, I don't know, technology or whatever. You know, some of us have access to it, some of us don't. Today, we're talking about the Great Divide in terms of our population in America, but the world too. I think it might fit in the world over a number of different societal issues. And what has prompted this conversation is the fact that a popular comedian who has a talk show was removed from his show was removed from broadcast suddenly when he made a joke about the existing national federal administration in America, a Trump administration. He made a joke. They didn't like it. They took him off the air. I mean, and that's one example of a succession of examples of uh, people's free speech, which is part of the Constitution, being taken away. So while we usually kind of rise above the what's going on in the physical world and it kind of uplift our consciousness to another level. Today, we're going to deal directly with that. And that's where we're starting this conversation. How did we get here? What's the evidence that it exists in terms of this great divide? How did we get here and where are we going? So here we go. Tiffany, what are your thoughts on this?
I have so many thoughts on this, Gwen. And it's maddening, right? And we might as well just put it out there. Like,
Yeah.
of course it's political, but what we were saying is when people say that they don't want to be involved in politics, well, the truth is we're always involved in politics. It's either you're deciding how people in charge are going to run your life without you having a say, or you have a say. Point blank, you're always involved, you know? And how did we get here where the loss of free speech, which is really funny because with Charlie Kirk, they're saying, the far right is saying like he was shot because he spoke his opinion, where we should be able, and they were pushing it. We should have free speech. We should have free speech. This is the hypocrisy in it. However, in that same free speech, when Jimmy Kimmel
Yeah.
was speaking, and it wasn't bad. It wasn't a bad joke. He just like right away, the Trump administration tried to blame the shooting on the left. But it turns out it wasn't someone on the left. It was someone on the right. And and Jimmy Kimmel spoke about that. So his free speech got him fired right away.
Yeah.
I mean, got him killed. Right?
Yeah.
We got here because violence promotes violence, darkness promotes darkness. And really, Trump has been out there promoting in his administration violence and a lack of free speech and disassembling our Constitution, you know, for years.
Absolutely, for years. And since he's been in office, which has only been 8 months, I guess, January 20, he has taken away. So there were students on college campuses who exercised their free speech that had their visas or whatever taken away because they were
Canceled, yeah.
foreign nationals who were here, on visas or whatever for their education. And they got their uh, visas taken away. And I think they've been deported. You don't hear about it much in the news anymore. You heard
Right.
the beginnings of it, and now it just kind of has gone away. But you did hear that they were stopping them from having their say about what was going on in the world events. And a
Yeah,
lot of it,
mostly Palestine.
yeah,
If you spoke up against what's happening in Palestine, um
right.
then the administration Trump was like,
It was against the current
it's
administration.
gag, they put gag orders against speaking against Palestine.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
it was going against the administration's political agenda and their sort of position on this. And so even though those folks were foreign nationals here getting their education, their free speech is protected by the Constitution. I mean, they still have the right to say what they have to say. But anyway, so I noticed it then, and then it's been going on, um, since that time. You see other evidence of other folks who have spoken out against this administration having their rights taken away. Colleges and universities who were receiving funding for research that they were doing, put a free, having a freeze on whatever their research was, because
Science. Yeah.
yeah, because of
Um,
the work that they were doing was against the agenda of the current administration. And so, I mean, all of these are examples of how our, our rights from the Constitution are being eroded and being taken away. And that's what's happening on this plane. So I'll stop there, but because I know you wanted to get in and say something.
it's so much. It's so much. We can go so many places with this, but it is the reality of our world right now, just being revealed
Yeah,
and torn down, right? And if we look at it from a spiritual view of what we've learned through our our belief, science of mind, it and what we've talked about on this show before is kind of like there's the ego and there's the alignment with God, levels of consciousness. Um, the way I've looked at it this week for me, and the way I stopped arguing with people online, because it's a clear divide. It's a clear divide. Many people have been like, whoa, that's your person, that's what you believe. And and just like myself, even stopped arguing it because it's the divide is so clear.
yes.
And where I've
Emotion. And there's so much emotion attached to it.
so much emotion attached to it. And even within the Christian community, this Charlie Kirk was the divide in the Christian community where finally there's pastors and priests coming out and saying, this guy was not Christian. This has gone too far. Like it's the line, it's really the line God needed to be like, okay, let's stop the BS. I hate to
Mhm.
say that online, but this guy was not Christian. Like Christian nationalists, the people that want to call him Christian, to me, they hijacked Jesus's name to be and with an antichrist, their very antichrist agenda. Everything about it is antichrist. I have put the words of Jesus, I have put the Bible in front of many of these MAGA supporters so many times. What does God say? What does Jesus say? What does God say that we need to do for immigrants? Allow them in. There's not one single incident where he says to treat them the way we're treating them. He does. It's just so many things.
Well, Christ was an immigrant. Wasn't Christ an immigrant? I'm the one that's not as familiar with the Bible as you are. But from what I recall, Christ, his Mary and Joseph traveled through the Middle East from
Mhm.
from, I don't know, where they were to Bethlehem, which was made them an immigrant, made them immigrants.
Right. Right. I mean, basically, yeah. I mean, people traveled all the time, and I don't think there was a huge push on immigration the way it is now anyway, especially in America, you
Yeah,
know. Mm. But there were immigrants, yeah. In fact, the Bible, the quote in the Bible talks about like you were once strangers in the land.
yeah,
And so therefore you need to treat strangers in the land, which are immigrants,
right.
well. You know what I mean? Um, so it's tough. It's tough. But and this is coming to me. I mean, we talked about this a long time ago, which was kind of like what we were going to start the show on, but I wasn't ready to talk about it. But
Mhm.
my downloads from Source God a year ago about the world dividing, you know, and there'll be new earth and old earth. And it really feels like it's happening right now. Like we're in it, you know,
Mhm.
and it's a consciousness thing, which I didn't understand that. It's not like the earth is going to split in half, I don't think. I mean, we have earth is doing a lot of stuff itself too, you know.
That's
You know what I mean, she's going through a lot right now too. But
mhm.
the consciousness of people, that divide is very apparent now with us. Um, and I remember my original download message from God where he said there will be a great divide.
Yeah.
And he told me to focus on the light, focus on the positive and not the chaos. Don't get caught up in the chaos.
Mhm.
And it's funny, I was looking through a lot of my downloads recently, and that's a theme. He tells me that I realized he said it to me many, many times. Don't focus on the chaos, focus on the light as a theme in my downloads. Told it to me multiple times, so I always thought I was getting something different. But basically is this is happening. There is going to be a divide. Eventually, people will come over to the light. And we're just going to go with that. We're our divide is light against dark. Is it not? Is it not completely obvious? Is light against dark?
Yeah.
Because violence is dark. We know it. Anger, fear, everything that they use in the MAGA movement is dark. It's separation from God. It's 100.
Absolutely, it is.
And the consciousness of it, and think about conscious. I didn't even think about this until this week. When we say conscious, we used to say growing up, like, what does your conscience say? Which we meant, what does your heart say about this? Is this right or wrong?
Mhm.
And I don't even think we talk like that anymore. I think that's also part of the divide where we're not conscious of our conscious as a society. You know what I
True.
mean?
Yeah.
So like Charlie spoke about empathy. He said he doesn't believe in empathy. That's a liberal thing made up.
Yeah. Made
He
up.
said when they spoke about gun violence and in the schools, he said, unfortunately, in order to protect our Second Amendment, we're going to have some deaths, some gun violence deaths. You know, and this is who they called a Christian man. This is their martyr. So, and what I felt that God gave me was grace for them because
Mhm.
it's been in the knowing as part of the plan to bring everyone back to alignment with God is to bring up all the unconscious behavior so more and more people can see it. Um, what he told me recently was, what he showed me recently in kind of a vision was a house when someone's moving. And right when you're almost done with the move, your house is a mess because you've pulled everything out of the closets. And a lot of it, you're like, I don't need this anymore. I can throw it away. It's just a mess, right? That
Yeah.
end part of the move, because all that was tucked and hidden. So you can think about the world as for a while, for at least 50 years, we tucked and hid stuff. Think
Yeah.
about it. A couple of years ago, would have thought that we'd have wars again? Would
No,
you think that like
I thought that was passe.
we thought we were past that?
Yeah.
Like what we're going through here in America is like what Nazi Germany is. Who would have thought that we could do this?
Yeah. That it would be
So
back at us like this. Yeah,
yeah, so it makes sense. And he showed me this before even more stuff came up that is kind of like it's all just got to be cleaned out.
yeah.
So we could think of it like that.
I like to think of it like that. But here's where I have been in this, and maybe by the end of this conversation, I will have changed a little bit. But in terms of the great divide for me, to me, it's the division between religion, because there's a lot of folks out here who are espousing some of this negativity and some of this darkness, who call themselves Christians. That's the religion. And the divide then is with the spiritual, the spirituality.
Right.
And I see the religion, and as you were saying, I think it would be I'm piggybacking on some of the things that you said in terms of the darkness. And the darkness comes when people are separated. There is a division. There is a not a division, but a um, or what is the word, when they forget their connection to God. They
Right.
they are separated from God. So there's that division. There's like several layers of this kind of division going on. And so those are people who have lost their connection to the source. And those who are spiritual have continued with their connection with God, because they practice every day with meditation, and just not suppressing those um, instincts and inclinations that come up that we talked about previously. The deja vu, and the you know
Tuition and
out intuition and out of body experiences. They have a still connection with that, and have sort of tried to amplify that. Those are the spiritual people. They are still in the light, right? They're still in the. That's how I'm seeing it, and that's where the divide is. The darkness comes when people are separated, and those who focus on again, sort of amplifying something that you just said, focus on the negative. When you put where you put your attention is what you attract. It's that law of attraction, isn't it? Right? If you
yeah.
if you continue to focus your attention on the dark side and the negativity, and this person talking about there's no such thing as empathy, and empathy is a liberal word. Are you kidding me? When you focus on that kind of negativity, you attract what you focus on. He had,
Right.
he
Which is why a lot of people were saying, um, basically Charlie attracted, he wrote, and he wrote his fate, you know what I mean? He attracted violence. And
that's where he focused. Yes.
and a lot of what's happening with the Trump administration is violence. They're putting out violence every single day. The way they treat the immigrants is violent. The
That's right.
supporting of um, Netanyahu and his agenda for Palestine is violence. It's violence. And Jesus said, "Live by the sword, die by the sword." And that's what
That's right.
happened. And that is what's happening. And um, and I don't want to say that it's spiritual, not spiritual, because the spiritual laws are the laws regardless. Like the laws of the universe, like manifestation, the laws, like all the laws, they're the laws regardless. It's how it actually works. We're aware of it or we're not. But being aligned with the heart, with source, now you want to call it source, God, the universe,
Yeah.
works from the heart. It's heart alignment. And with heart alignment, it raises your consciousness. So you can be spiritual and still not be aligned with your heart. Spiritual in the sense that you know how to use the laws of the universe. So that's a dangerous belief, to think that every spiritual person is conscious of their behaviors. And what it's also showing in the Christian community is that there's a lot of Christians that are coming out and saying, I no longer say I'm Christian, but I am a Christ follower, because the hijacking of Jesus in the Christian nationalists
Yeah,
is they don't follow Jesus. They're anti-Christ. They're not following Jesus, you
okay.
know.
So those are
So
the issues.
the ones that are conscious of Jesus, and the Bible says, and God says, Jesus is supposed to live in your heart. The Holy Spirit's got to live in your heart. So that's the same as spiritual and Christians, the ones that do have the Spirit in their heart, is acknowledging it. It's just said differently, right? And if they truly have the Holy Spirit in their heart, they're going to see things the same way. They're going to see
Mhm.
the light in the dark. They're going to see that violence is
To get,
dark. They're going to see it's wrong. You know, there does come a time, like I know ultimately in the world it was they tried to claim that there's no real right or wrong. You know, it's all opinion. And while everything was hidden underneath in the closet, you know, not people, we could get away with that.
yeah,
But now that everything's coming up, right and wrong is obvious. Killing
yeah,
is wrong. There's nothing right about that.
yeah,
The way we're treating, the way ICE is treating people, attacking them in the street, it's straight wrong. It's straight wrong. The
absolutely.
only thing that we're supposed to be doing for one another when you're aligned to the heart is loving on each other. There's no boundaries in creation. You
Right.
know, in fact, boundaries are so stupid because the earth is always changing. Our continents are always changing. They're
Mm,
massively changing now. Who knows where it's going to be in 100 years? Those boundaries aren't going to exist. And that was one of the downloads I got, was that there's not going to be any borders. You know, I
mm,
mean, that is when our consciousness is high enough to be in alignment with God, where He says, you love your neighbors, everyone's your neighbors. The only
yes.
thing He cares about, the only thing He cares about is how we love one another. Because source, God, is love. And so when you're in alignment, you're in love. Now we're going to go to the ego. When you're in ego and you're not in love, you're in a lower consciousness, to the point of, let's just say, they have no consciousness. So therefore, it doesn't bother them. They have no attachment to their heart, no attachment to God. So therefore, it doesn't bother them to see some of the heinous stuff that's happening, all the violence, the kids being killed all the time. Um, and it was, and it's surprising how much love they have, though, for Charlie.
Yeah.
And that's the part that can throw you off. You're like, you guys are so cold hearted, so cold hearted. But then they're like, Charlie. Well, I mean, that's their cold hearted martyr, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. It truly is. And I guess I I can understand your distinction in terms of the consciousness, whether you were Christian and and I don't know that I wanted to focus in on the Christian as much as the religion versus spirituality.
Again, yeah,
People are the religion can be corrupted, can be, because it's based on interpretation of individuals, and like I say, these intermediaries that you follow and how they interpret things. And if their ego is in it, then they are not connected to God consciousness. And they are, they're at a different, they're separated from, from the God consciousness and the Christ consciousness. So, and there's so much dogma that comes out of that religion, just blindly following,
right.
whatever is out there. And so that's where it's kind of nuanced, but that's how I make that distinction with
And it's a good distinction.
it is about consciousness.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's about consciousness for sure and awareness. So, but here's the thing, you're never separated because we are of, remember? So God's always here. We're
Is
never,
it?
every single one of us is an extension of God. It's
We
our
just have to call
awareness.
on them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Call
our
on.
awareness of God and allowing our hearts be open to be God, to be Him, you know what I mean? And that, I guess that's the veil, right? I guess that's the veil. that is put over us until we awaken. And that's why they call it the Great Awakening. It's the
Yeah,
awakening to the fact that we're God and we can align with God and we can have all the gifts of creation with God, but our creations can be, you know, good or evil, you
it
know,
could be. It depends on the like you said, the ego,
consciousness.
ego
Yeah, the ego.
and the consciousness that's in it. I mean, and the reason we wanted to do this show was to help elevate that Christ consciousness, that God consciousness, to make sure that people maintain their alignment, maintain their connection to the higher power. Because we believe that there are more people out there who have that capability than there is others who are in the dark side, who are
Right.
only seeing, the negativity and are attracting that to them. We think that there are more people out there who see the light, who will attract the light, and help raise the consciousness of this earth. People, all of us that are, here on this planet, not in another dimension, can raise that consciousness so that the light prevails and love prevails. Because like you said, the bottom line is we're all about love, and God is about love, right? Love your neighbor as yourself, right? That's one of the passages that I did learn from
It
the.
is one of the passage. And so here's the problem with that. Love your neighbor as yourself. If you don't love yourself, if your heart is closed, you don't love yourself too. And you don't know that you don't love yourself until your heart opens.
You got to
So
open.
therefore they're loving their neighbors like they love themselves because they're so detached from themselves and knowing who they are, they don't have the true love for themselves too, you
Yeah.
know.
So you have to
And
be careful with that. So you gotta be open enough to love yourself.
love me more than you love yourself.
Well, yeah, before you can love your neighbor as yourself. Yes.
Right, right.
Yes. But I mean, and so like I said, this is, the reason for this work, the conversations that we've been having about nurturing our spirituality so that, the love will rise up, and that we will have that, we won't be detached from the source,
Right.
our
Yeah.
consciousness, our God consciousness. So yeah, so we talked about examples of what's going on, on this planet, on this earth, and so which kind of led to how we came to be here, and we're now in the conversation about where we're going from here. Where do we?
Yeah. Uh, so I think if you really think about it, if you really pay attention, yes, it's really, really scary, but
Yeah.
I'll use a couple different analogies. One where God showed me like, well, here's the mess because you're moving.
Mhm.
Well, once you leave there, you're always going to move into something better, right? So you could
Right.
look at it as like, okay, yeah, we're looking at the mess. Now we got to clean it up. It's all out. It's all out there. All the racism, all the hate, all the wars, and which is really all based on hate. You know what I mean? There's
It
love
is.
and anger and all that kind of stuff. We got to clean that up. Um, and that's the only way, that's the only place to move to. Either we continue in that direction and we literally destroy ourselves because hate's just going to hate, hate's just going to destroy itself. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That's all it can do. Or we let the light, we follow the light and we clean up the mess. And then
Yeah.
we have a whole new world, which is what the message was, which is what the downloads are. And there's a lot of people in the spiritual community talking about this. So it's really hard where we are right now because we're looking at the mess. It's all come up. Now, if you want to look at the light, you can also notice that the change in perspective of people, of what the general collective is on both sides, really, on both sides, is really saying they're tired of the leaders that they've had. They're tired of being led the way they have. Really, MAGA, the reason why MAGA was formed is they used the fear um, of control, of leadership, of losing who they are, even though they don't know who they are, but what of who they think they are, of losing that. You know what I mean? And that's really how they united. You know, it's
Right.
mostly white supremacists, and they were losing their power. They were worried about being wiped off the face of the earth or something like that. Like
Yeah.
that was the push, right?
Read about their annihilation.
Annihilation, yeah.
Exactly.
So you have you have a lot of people standing up. You have a lot of protest really against leaders of the world's all around the world. So it's not just in America. We
That's
don't
right.
get a chance to look at it that much because we have so much going on here.
Yeah.
And Americans have never been used to looking at anything outside our bubble. But if you actually look at the world internationally, it's happening everywhere. And so so it's almost evidence of like it's being cleaned up. You have so much more you have so much more people standing up against it. And is what I'm saying, like collectively, there's a lot more people standing up against all of the the leaders that are in the dark. They're leading by ego, that are used to living by ego, because that's the patriarchal way. That's where we've been for thousands of years.
Mhm.
You know, it's almost that almost ties into what we were going to talk about, the suppression of the divine feminine.
Yeah.
You know, it kind of goes way back to that. So we'll get to that like our next show. But
Yeah.
it's a perfect lead in because what we're saying is your alignment with source is the feminine side of everyone.
Mhm.
So as that is opening up in the spiritual realm, and when we talk about spirit, we're really talking about ourselves because we're all spirits.
Yeah.
So spirituality is everything, it's everyone. It's just some people realize it, some people don't. Some people think what we are is our bodies. These are
Yeah.
suits, man. When these suits age out, we still continue.
We continue.
That's what a lot of people don't know. That's what, you know, but when you know it, and then when you realize the gifts that we all have,
Yeah.
intuition, and it's acknowledging it because technically we all use it all the time. We
Yeah.
just sometimes know we're using it. Some people like I know I'm using it now, so I practice it more. And some people don't know they're using it. They're just like, "Oh, I'm lucky. I had a feeling." No, that's your spirit talking to you. That's your connection talking to you. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
and
that's
that's the
what we're
feminine side of us.
doing. Yeah.
Yeah, and on the spiritual side, the feminine is rising. The spirit's feminine gods in us is rising and taking their place back. And so that's why there's a lot of hope for new earth because it's going to be more balanced instead of it being in the we're in an extreme toxic masculine era. That's where the wars come from and all that. With the feminine coming in, it's not going to like wipe out the masculine. It's going to balance it. We're going to have a healthy balance masculine and healthy balance feminine.
Yeah.
And that's going to change the world a lot. And we see that happening, but we have a lot of cleanup to do.
Lot to more cleanup to do.
And yes, and energetically,
Yes.
what the source has shown me is that you can't fight darkness with darkness, right? It just blends. You have to, the light always shines light on the darkness.
Yeah.
So that's why our focus needs to be on the light. And it is possible to do that. Like when you see a protest, you can look at it. Yeah, they're protesting this evil that's happening over here. And you could look at and you can get caught up in the evil or the darkness, what you want to call it. Or you can be like, look how freaking beautiful. Like when we said when we went to the protests, how much love was there and how enlightening. You can always look at that and be like, oh my gosh, look at that love. Look
Mm.
what they're doing. And
And
that's
this,
a lot more.
yes, yes, yes. Yes, this is what's possible. So
Yeah. And
it's a very,
and and then I sending love. Okay, so energy, Jesus says it doesn't matter if you think it or if you do it, it's all the same. So if you
yeah.
think of killing someone or if you kill someone, it's all the same. And that is because we're all energy. It's all energy. So if you're thinking negative, it's the same as action that's negative. It's just a solidified of the energy. So if you think love, and that's why people send love, think love, that's sending light, think light, that is effective too. And we're going to get scientific about that because as science and mind, we believe that there's one God, there's one source, there's one mind. And that's what, when you tap in, when I read someone's, when I do a reading for someone, I'm just tapping into that one mind. And then it's kind of like you tap in, you connect the dots. Like if I want to read your, do a psychic reading, I'm going to tap into the mind and connect to your mind.
Yeah.
So when you're sending love, you're going to tap in, send love. If you're having a negative thought, you're going to tap in, send negative. And that's why our role right now is to tap in, send love. And it's hard. It's so hard because we're looking at the negative, but that's why I kept hearing focus on the positive. I'm downloading right now, which is why I'm talking quickly, because it's coming through me as like this is what spirit wants us to know is you when you tap in, you need to tap in, send love, because that's going to create more love and more light, and the light can overshadow the darkness. And you can think of Trump and tap in and send light, send love, and yes, it will have an effect.
Yes. It does. It does. I've seen evidence of it. And yes, whether you think it or say it, it's that energy that's out there. And obviously the actions follow that. Think
Right.
in speech. And then the actions follow. And so if you are in that negative space, what's going to come back to you? So that's why you have to stay in the light, stay in the love, and think it, say it, and then do it. In the love, in the
In the
love.
love. Yeah,
In
and that's our job. That's what's going to make the difference. That's how we're going to create this better life, is to be in the love, learn more about it, learn about the feminine, learn about the divine feminine, learn about opening your heart. If anyone's listening to this and they're not, and they're resonating a little bit and they're like something, that's source, that's God telling you, yeah, you need to do it too. If you can, you know, look in the mirror. It's like mirror work is a thing, to look in the mirror and talk to yourself and discuss what you love about yourself and what you might need to work on. Um, it's a very powerful modality, especially for self-love. Just look in the mirror and love, pick out things you love about yourself and tell yourself. That will help open the heart. And that's really what needs to happen, is the people that are like, they just don't see it. They don't, and it's really hard for us with the open heart to see that they don't see it. But the reality is that's where it is. Like they have a deep veil, they have a deep separation from their own heart, from consciousness, from God, that they just don't see it. And we have to, all we have to send love. I mean, yeah, we'll be told to do things, but when you connect, you're told what to do. Just like right now, Source was like, send love, explain how that works. It's like one mind, you tap in, you send love. Everything you do, every word we have, every thought we do, everything has a reaction to it. So you have to think about what are you doing at every moment and what is the possible reaction to that. So when I used to go online and try to argue with people, like, I'm in that same energy. So I might have been like coming from a place of what I think is love, but the energy I was putting out there is the same energy. It's the same negative energy because I'm them, so I'm trying to tell them what I think is right. You know what I mean? And I'm putting out that angry. So, and I'm saying all this because it's coming through, and I don't know how to do it personally. I can't really say I know how, but that's just what we have to align with on a regular basis and believe in that. And it's such a more like I'm in this peaceful space because I am aligned and I'm allowing Source to talk through me. And I was like this the other day, but as soon as I got out of the space and I went on TikTok and I saw something, I went down that rabbit hole until I stopped myself and I was like, I went down the rabbit hole right before I posted something. I got a reminder like, is this all the love? Are you sending love? Is the response to that going to be loving, or is it going to cause friction? And I had to stop myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're not saying it's going to be easy.
Mm-mm.
It's not easy.
I'm
But
not trying to gaslight at all.
no, no,
No.
I hope people don't get that impression at all. But we just want to be here to be reminders, right? And anytime that we can remind each other, because we are human, we've got egos that we have to deal with. So
Mm-hmm.
if we can be of any support to each other about being in the light and being in the love constantly, we should do that. Because like you say, you said it in a more articulate way than I did about having, if you think or speak and certainly act in a negative way, it comes back to you. It's that law of cause and effect, right? What is
Mm-hmm.
the reaction to what it is you are putting out? What are you emitting? What are you putting out there? Because it's going to come back. It's that law of attraction. Of
It is. It's not just individual, it's collective. So where we are is the collective pattern. It's the collective cause and effect. So how do we get here? We collectively have been a little bit in our toxic masculine as a society.
yeah,
And that's why, and the effect is where we are, basically.
exactly. Yeah. And that's what we're seeing when we talked earlier about the evidence that's out there. So that's what we're seeing, that's what we're experiencing. But we can counter that, and that's what we're talking about. Putting out the that energy of love, emitting that, and being in the light, and reminding. And if we're not, because we do have to, like you said, we're humans, and so sometimes we forget, and we get a little
Mm-hmm.
because we're
Triggered.
all it triggered. Yes, we're processing all the stuff that's coming at us, and sometimes we get triggered and we forget. But if we can remind ourselves to just, okay, so how is there love? What is your reaction going to be? How are you going to display the light and the love
Right.
response to what's coming at you? And that's what we have to say today. So I think we can leave it there or tease for the next. So next time we will be talking about or at least look for the conversation that we're going to have on the suppression of the feminine, the divine feminine or the feminine energy,
Mm-hmm.
and what effect that has on religion and on society as a whole.
And as our person, even
Yeah, and
personally. I want to say though, before we go off, your at your church, who was it that said when you see something on the news and you want to get activated, that you send it's a prayer request?
oh yeah, yeah.
I tried to remember that too. I was like, yeah, it's a prayer request. Instead of
Yeah.
jumping in and trying to prove something wrong and getting in that same energy and starting a debate, like just a personal prayer, and sending that personal prayer is sending love. And that's an
It,
action that we can do. And it doesn't mean sitting in yourself and just praying for people. No. I mean, we can go out to protest. And the protest with so much love, we can still post things because there's nothing wrong with posting truth out there. But what I started doing is I cut off I post the truth, make sure whatever you're posting is true. I double check. And then I cut off the ability to for people to comment so that it doesn't turn into an argument.
oh, oh, I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you do it. I found it. And I think the reason why that's important to do is not saying that you don't want someone else's opinion. As long as you're not posting so much opinion, post truth. I think that's where we need to go to, like, where the truth is. And truth might be something you download from God. And like I said, when I do a download, I never talk about it until I've heard it multiple times of just multiple confirmations. Um, when you when you go back at someone with love and don't jump into the energy that they're at, when you come from a higher energy, their energy can't touch you. So then it has to go back to them. And
Ah,
then that causes them to have to deal with it more.
yeah, yeah. I want to read something really briefly that is part of my, um, the way I start my days with affirmations, and it comes
Okay.
from Agape and Reverend Michael. But it says, as you do your spiritual practices regularly, you will develop the consciousness of those individuals who live in high victory. You will become less concerned about the vibrations that are coming at you and more concerned about the vibrations that are coming through you from the indwelling presence of God. I have to read that every day to remind myself.
That was beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, about, where are you with the vibrations that are coming at you, whatever they are, and be more concerned about the vibrations that are coming through you. How are you going to react to that? So,
Yeah. I like that. That's beautiful. You should write that in the comments down below this in case anyone wants to
yeah,
have.
I will do that. I will do that, be part of the description.
Yeah.
Hi, folks. Thank you for joining us. We hope that you got something out of, you got a lot out of what you heard from us. I want to hear from you. And until next time, I'm Gwendolyn Flynn,
I'm Tiffany Lee.
and we'll see you next time.